pleasure to speak with you today, Swan. Topic, I think, which is at our heart of our interest, right, in many ways. And I think all of you also are involved or share or experience elevated hospitality. Thank you, Ashumi, for inviting me to this experience. Actually, I think this is elevated hospitality at its best, right? I mean, we don't have to talk about industry trends, which we do later, and other examples. But I think, Ashimi, what you and your team in Future Plus have created, conceptualized, and executed here is a great example, right, of innovation. And why? Because we have a uniqueness, we have a community, we have elevated services. Joel, we just heard that from you.
Curation.
Exactly. So I think that all combines already what we're going to talk about, I think, over the next couple of minutes.
Why don't we do proper introductions? Because we got to chat a little yesterday,
Yeah.
and your title is not indicative of the ecosystem of things that you do. So I'll let you start, and you should talk about yourself as if you're a big fan.
Yes. No, thank you. Look, yes, I mean, I'm here, as the chairman of NeueHouse. And NeueHouse is part of a platform we have over the last years developed and are still in process of developing, where we saw there's a place for culture-based brands that are in elevated hospitality, and they also have a innovation to respond to how our society, our needs, our interests change. And that was it's a brand which then was acquired by a group I'm part of, and that is one brand. The other brand, interesting enough, which is built alongside, is called Fotografiska. It's a Swedish name of a art museum hospitality brand. And between the houses today are 8 locations in US, in Europe, and Asia, and growing. And both basically go beyond and integrate elevated hospitality, community, membership experience, and other aspects we discuss into that, into the brand concept. And so I think that is one broader area. I had a past in the global media industry and have also been part of building a larger conference community and innovation group in the past. So that has always been at the heart of my interest in a way. And that's why I was also want to say this once more, very happy to be one of the early members of Ashumi and Future Plus, because I believe that's the next generation, next level of community platforms which we experience here.
Yeah, I've been to your location in Estonia, and it was a beautiful museum, but it was also a destination for social, for dining. I mean, the museum actually was nice, but we went there for lunch, and then we're like, wait, let's go check out the museum. So you're right, like the mixed use purpose was really interesting.
Yes, exactly. I think that is the idea. I take now the museum brand because it sounds a bit traditional, right? Usual museum experiences from 9 to 6 o'clock. You have several exhibitions a year, but they don't change all the time, right? And you typically don't have these social experiences built in, because you go in, you even some point, it's not encouraged really to have social experiences there. And this is what we thought to change with Fotografiska, where the concept of a museum is social by nature. So first of all, we have that open until late night. So a lot of us not being there with maybe our children or others would like to, have time in the evening. We integrated hospitality offerings, restaurants, bars, etc. And also at a elevated level. Fotografiska has today 2 Michelin star restaurants, etc. in the group, and it really flows that you can visit a show and then you can have a dinner experience or etc. We integrated retail in a way that you can also take something alongside in this move, and a lot of community and membership offerings which go beyond photography, which can be music, which can be readings, which can be a comedy, which goes actually even into wellness and well-being, and bringing this into one concept is behind that brand.
The best panels are ones that we dive right in and forget to give you context. So let me
Yeah,
finish
yeah.
introductions. Hi, everyone. I'm Swan. I used to be the global head of digital for Nike, Revlon, Estee Lauder. So most of my career has been about digital transformation, partnering with technologists to build services or products that have market value, and then working with consumers on the adoption, crossing the chasm of understanding how to use technology as part of how we live, work, and play. I left corporate in 2019. I jumped on Clubhouse in 2020 during the pandemic when we were lonely and bored, and I like to talk. So a year later, I had almost 4 million followers. And so after corporate, I became a content creator specializing in democratizing information, access, and opportunity, especially around emerging technology. So now I sit on public company boards. I am a professional speaker. I advise companies, a lot of which are in this technology space looking for a market fit. And you might ask why I'm sitting on a panel for hospitality. Well, number one, I'm an interim CMO at Continuum. It is an integrated wellness center in New York that uses biometric and AI data to personalize wellness journeys. But secondly, I think hospitality is a word that's changing. And we'll get into trends, but hospitality used to be reserved for hotels and vacations. Now, every luxury brand you walk into calls customers guests. Everyone thinks they're in hospitality. Hotels are offering wellness centers, luxury brands are offering meditation and yoga. So, hospitality is no longer where you eat or you sleep, it's everything in an experience. So, that's what I'm really excited to dig into today because I think anytime you touch customers, or even if you're a B2B brand that has customers on the other end of it, hospitality and experience is how you do marketing today. And I know you think that because NeueHouse was built on the fact that all those modalities come together.
Yes, exactly. And it was built on that. It is driven by experience, driven by, in this case, also positioning around culture and community, strong programming. But also, which is always part of elevated hospitality, is also strong design, right? You just want an aesthetic environment which is different and sets you up. And we combine this in NeueHouse. And I think what was I believe an innovation right now is that most of the elevated hospitality offerings we see in personal hospitality. You are at at a hotel or restaurant, or you go to um, one of the Gucci bistro, Gucci Osteria, which was the introduction, right? Gucci brought there, which is very, very fascinating, or Ralph Lauren Polo Bar, etc. So I think that you see, but few have done this in the business setting. And the idea behind NeueHouse is actually to create a business hospitality. So, and that has to do with the trend. Why do you go to office these days, right? Why you're at a special place? You can work remotely and all this. And we had last years, of course, this going one direction extremely with the pandemic, and now it's going back. Maybe there's a mix here. But at NeueHouse, we said, okay, if you're coming to a place, it's a shared workplace and a social club platform and company, you want also there an elevated environment. So we integrated real good F&B offerings, restaurants. We integrated a lot of service, which more from a, I would say, 5-star hotel experience. We integrated this into being basically in an office environment where you work, and it should actually encourage you and enhance your productivity, enhance actually your also your joy, what you do every day, because you have that environment and you have strong service. I believe actually service is always very important, right? And we see this in upscale hospitality. The difference is the staff. The difference is how they react to you. You're known as a guest, etc.
Yeah, I think there's three big trends that allowed businesses like ours to exist. I mentioned one of them briefly is that hospitality is everyone's game now. Just like experiences was everyone's game a few years ago, hospitality is everyone's game. Secondly, I think luxury, the definition has changed. It used to be big logos of designer brands. Then it was smaller, subtle logos and silhouettes. Like if you know that's a Birkin bag. Then it became experiences, and now wellness is the new luxury, right? You have Chanel hosting yoga in their Soho store, right? Like I said, these hotels have, I mean, Aman's Wellness Club is so expensive and it's a social club on top of that because of the price point. I think the third form of this shift is personalization, right? It's bespoke, it's quiet, and it's almost like you don't have to ask for it, they know. So I think these three trends have led to a shift of, for example, all these modalities work, live, and play converging into one space, into lifestyle, whether you're at NeueHouse and you're co working and you're social and going to conferences, or your Continuum, which is a wellness club, but inherently also because of a price point, it's a social club. But all of the services are personalized based on your scans and your blood work, and AI drives the biometric data recommendations. So if you look at this ecosystem, I don't think these businesses could have survived 25 years ago because people didn't know it was possible. It all goes back to consumer adoption. What are they willing to do? And how do you lead them to the next place? Right. And if you skip too many steps, people freak out. I mean, all of us, I think, here have some familiarity with crypto and blockchain. We came in through NFTs and PFPs a few years ago that, as fun as they were, have no market value. So they don't stick. But if you look at the businesses that are truly using blockchain as a backbone, right, whether it's for digital assets, digital identity, all these things that we're not seeing because none of us know TCP/IP, but we use the internet, blockchain has to be the same. And I think as we infuse technology and lifestyles into experiences, they have to be part of someone's innate behavior or you're going to get resistance.
But I think the big trends you mentioned are personalization in hospitality. Everyone knows this, hotel industry tries to, recognize you much earlier, right? Integration of technology with all the smart cards, etc. But that is, I think, just an adoption of technology in terms of, but not a leadership. What is interesting, I think, is the well-being trend and momentum that has really been over the last 2 years a massive acceleration, right? In terms of that well-being is part of your life, and in hospitality, you want to offer that to your guest. And what you mentioned, Aman, at the very high end, or Six Senses with their destinations, but it goes now across everything. I can tell you, most of the hotel companies now think about well-being integrations. Starts very simple with sleep, right, which is a big topic if we all follow biohacking, and this is accelerating right now. And certainly a differentiator, right? We had the last couple of years, I think a lot of was driven in hospitality with through, I think, the trend to be to adopt and also integrate sustainability. Let's be clear, still an underlying process right now. Has to do on the one hand, of course, with the buildings itself, right, themselves, but also then more bespoke, I think, sustainability initiatives by the operators. But that is ongoing. I think that is running. The new big momentum is in well-being, definitely. And what you do actually with Continuum is also an innovation, right? Because it is a workspace plus a very high-end offering, right?
Yeah, for sure. What makes Continuum a little different is that everyone's throwing around really big words like longevity. We try not to use that word because I can't promise you will live forever. That is impossible. And anyone who's giving you that, you should ask for a money back guarantee. But what we can do is wellness. We can make your quality of life better today and in the near future. So what Continuum does, it's the world, well, the press likes to call us the most expensive gym in the world. We're not a gym, we're a wellness center. And what we do is we start with your baseline data. We do blood work, we do scans, and we create a digital twin that represents all the modalities of your health. Now, you remember Tamagotchis and we had to keep those alive? There's a little gamification in there for your digital twin where we incentivize you to make better choices. And starting with your baseline biometric data, powered by not only AI and lots of data sets, but also all of our human performance specialists, our master's or PhD level scientists, we know what to do with your personalized data. Then we take it to practice. And so included in this, we have personal training, physical therapy, red light, hyperbaric, float, compression, massage, a lot of different therapies. But what do you do? How much and when really matters to you. So for me, I've struggled with my own wellness journey. I've been a nomad for 5 years, so I'm in a different hotel every week. I eat very poorly, never get enough sleep. This is the first time I've seen all those modalities come together because you can take tests like superpower or function, give you your readings, and you might be like, oh, that's interesting. For a few weeks, you try to be better and you never look at it again. Or you go to a gym, but personal trainers that are certified may not be qualified. And all of us have had a bad personal trainer that doesn't understand our bodies. You can go to Canyon Ranch, which is lovely because now you get data and practice, but only for a week because it's too expensive and no one can live in Arizona full time. So, where does that form? And what's interesting is we talked about this a little bit. It's the physical space that's coming back into relevance, right? We went really digital for a couple decades because the internet was new, exciting, and easy. But without a physical space to gather and work, without a physical space to put those modalities into practice, along with integration of lifestyle, removal of friction with a community, it doesn't stick. So what I predict in a few years, as much as wellness is a trend, in a few years we're going to see some massive M&A in the wellness industry, and a lot of these startups fail because number one, you cannot do health in silos. I don't care how much you work out, but if you drink every night and you don't sleep enough, it's not going to work if you work out every day. So if you have integrated methodologies, that actually has an impact on health. And secondly, a lot of this is not based on real data, which is scary, right? Like you guys start scrolling these wellness influencers, some of the things they say are absurd. I'm not doing half of them. I mean, so much of it is so experimental. So I think the ones that are integrated but also rooted in science will win.
It is interesting, actually. Even again, at NeueHouse, it's a workspace. We have many companies working out of the locations, and companies out of the entertainment industry, design-oriented industries, etc. And we a year ago, seeing that trend in wellness, which well-being I call it rather than wellness, well-being you described. We thought, okay, could we actually integrate that and test it? So we started to actually branch out and bring in functional medical teams, right? Of practitioners into our locations, right? And to offer that also to the members, to offer that to those who work in our spaces. And I can tell you a year later that there has been is a staggering like demand in this, and it's growing, right? And that was actually just a confirmation of that trend. But of course, also why it makes sense, because you go there every week, once, twice a week. So these teams actually follow through, right? To your point about you can only manage what you improve, what you can measure. There is a real ongoing measurement of the well-being treatments and applications we see here. And I was very happy to see Fiona yesterday, who is a speaker here and a partner, Ashumi, of Higher Dose. And we actually spoke a couple of months ago, right? And these are examples. They do red light, very wonderful products in red light therapy and infrared and others. I think you could test this here. But we're thinking right now to bring this also into our houses, and by that create also rooms for recreation, rejuvenation, but ongoing. Because a lot of people, what we are in the creative sectors, I would say, or innovation, we work and we like to work, expression of our identity, but if we can actually make us even more productive around it, feel better around it, I think that is actually where we like to go to, and integrating all these offerings. We collaborate now. We did a recent collaboration with Blueprint, Brian Johnson. We bring in a lot of, we look also what is really important. I just this morning read, and I thought it was excellent. Do you know the company Calm? Yes, and I think Calm, a pioneer in this incredible company. But I just saw in a mail this morning that Calm starts now to license the brand for hospitality offerings. Yeah. A Calm hotel. And I think this is exactly, so interesting that you have these connections now. between, and I also want to say it's not only the physical health, and that's why I mentioned calm, it's also the mental health, the well-being on a mental base. And for that, we also know from all biohacking longevity, social experience is important. And that's why we have to bring social experience, create this into hospitality offerings. And that's what you also see, and I could give a few more examples later, in the hotel industry, in other industries, how this is seeked out, and brands which are successful doing this, like Hoxton, for instance, in the UK, they have understood that, right? And I think this understanding human needs where they go to, right, and integrating this in hospitality, be it personal, be it corporate, that is competitive advantage, and where companies then find their consumers and their users.
I love that NeueHouse added wellness or
Yeah.
well-being. I don't look at it as competitive because if you're in this industry for the right reason, you want humans to feel better. So all of us in this industry are doing good work. So
Yeah.
I don't look at it as competitive. We immediately started talking. Well, where's intersections? Where can we help each other? Because our founder Jeff Hallaby likes to say, working out or wellness is really hard, right? Our innate tendencies are to eat poorly, stay in bed, be irresponsible with sleep. It's hard. So you can either increase motivation, which is really, really hard to do, or you reduce friction. And points of reducing friction are either putting everything in one place like we do and having one expert that has your whole modality integrated, and or putting it in the space that you hang out. If you are working in NeueHouse and you can go upstairs and take a break for your mental wellness or do a workout, we remove friction. That's actually a lot easier than increasing motivation, which is somebody screaming in your ear every morning, which I don't want. Um, the one thing I will add to it is I'm sometimes a little stuck on where this goes, right? Because we saw luxury moving, we saw wellness going. Where do we go from here? I don't know if I have a clear idea. I don't, like I said, this industry is going to see M&A. I think we're going to get smarter on science, but like short of injecting more things and having Neuralink, like I don't know where this goes. I'm pretty good at seeing around corners, right? For a long time, I was convincing people the internet wasn't scary, right? They're like, "Well, I can't buy anything. They'll steal my credit card." I'm like, "Did you take an Uber? Because you not only bought something on the internet with your credit card, you got in a stranger's car or you slept in a stranger's bed, right? Or, even I was resistant to the first iPhone. I'm like, I have a BlackBerry. I can't live without those buttons. I mean, long live BlackBerry, right? So usually I'm pretty good at being like, okay, wellness is the new frontier. We're going to see M&A, but I think this will stick. I think it'll have lasting changes on retail, on hospitality, and even on our health system and insurance. But then where do we go with experience and wellness?
I mean, you mentioned the internet, I think, or mobile phones. I think over time it becomes mainstream and it just becomes embedded in the new standard, right? We don't talk about it anymore. You know, I think the fact that everyone here likely has started to think about, health, even if we are all young, right? And should not actually be too concerned, hopefully, and with all the influences media that promote also biohacking, longevity, and all these offerings we come, it becomes a new behavior. And we see this also, I think, over the last years. I mean, I would say, alcohol consumption, many things, go down, becomes much more standard, right? That you want to maintain early on your health. So I think that's how I project this in the future, and all technology and offerings will be there. And there's always a segmentation in terms of price point, what you could, when you can afford, what you offer at the end, because these businesses need to be sustainable as well. I mean, I've seen high-end clubs in years is very different, but you cannot just put equipment in, right? Your infrareds, your hyperbarics, your red lights, cold plunges, etc., without actually building an experience, a brand, a customer base that comes back. And that is what I see also, that those brands as always will be successful, that are able to build this customer relation and maintain and develop it. And that's why, in a way, at NeueHouse, reacting or integrating this early is also to stay relevant and competitive, right? Because we can integrate this, and you have to adjust with your brand in what you offer. IDISA, for instance, we would not have a full-fledged gym there, right? Because at every location surrounding our three equinoxes or other high-end clubs, but you add something to it, right? You know, as you said, to reduce the friction, or a specialty. In this case, it's really focused on functional medicine and mental health. And I think that's how I see this going forward, right?
Yeah, I think those are two great points embedded in there. So Continuum is in New York only, and we are a high price point.
Yeah.
The all-in, everything included, is $10,000 a month. But the Discover package, which is 1,200 and gives you the gym, cold plunge, a bunch of the modalities, is 1,200 and more accessible. It includes food, which is done at Back to Hospitality. Our menu is done by a celebrity chef, Jordan Andino of Carriage House, and it is all better for you options with all the ingredients listed in the right quantities, and we make recommendations based on people's journey. So we could have just had healthy food, but we had a celebrity chef who makes really great tasting food that's better for you. So all of that is converging in a way that, like, it's not it's not just high end. Just like the personalization of your health journey, we personalize people's intake. So what happens is people come in at the discover level with a bunch of the modalities, and then they pay a la carte for the masseuse, for the trainer, and they realize, oh wait, this really works and it's adding up. Let me upgrade. And then we have a middle tier as well. So I think one of the big trends that will come is the democratization of it, because Continuum as a gym, as a club, is really nice in a neighborhood, but you're not going out of your way more than 20 minutes. So after we open LA, after we open Miami, the idea is now we have our own data, high fidelity data on our own members that we can track across so many different modalities. A consumer app will launch next year, but it's based on our own data in a way that we can control. So when we put the app in the hands of everyday consumers in their own homes, we can trust the data. Right. So I think we'll see a trend towards a lot of these more expensive treatments and centers expanding to the everyday person, because that's the right thing to do, not just from the VCs who are investing and need their money back for scale, but to help everyday humans. The other thing I think is the stigma is going to be removed from some of this. I love that you talk about mental health and mental wellness, because I spoke at an event with somebody from Calm, and they're working with B2B people. And so now companies are offering Calm as part of their perks. When you put a block on your calendar that says mental health, it's embarrassing. It's a red flag. You put a block on your calendar and the appointment says mental performance, everyone wants in. It's the same session from Calm, but by moving it from mental wellness to mental performance, it like 10x the signups. So I think those two trends from an everyday person thing, if we can shepherd those along, right, by making it more accessible, whether it's price point or even language or how to use, which is often the issue with technology, and then the language around it, right? Like we all talk biohacking like it's these tech bros. I love Brian, but I'm Brian Johnson. My last meal of the day is never going to be 11 a.m. to get to a better resting heart rate before I go to sleep. So how do we make it more accessible?
Yes, I think certainly right now it's in an in this stage where it's, as you said, the biohacking bros, right? You know, I think it will also change over time, and you know, there's also a difference, gender difference, you know, in terms of protocols, and I think there might be new brands which much more cater to, for instance, female, you know, needs and protocols and optimizations than male ones, because there are some differences here. But I'd like to point, maybe last leg of this conversation, away from wellness and well-being, which I think is very, of course, we discussed here. I see among these trends, right? You know, personalization, technology, sustainability, well-being. There are two more trends in elevated hospitality I think I want to point out here, and which are clear and visible. The one is this this intent, you know, to create unique experiences much more, right? And that has to do then with quality of experience. And the second is integrating culture and community, right? What we also see much more, that culture becomes an element in this. And I think the interesting example in uniqueness, you see this, couple of brands try to go there with, be it F&B offerings elevated or other, the barefoot luxury, you know, that you try to slow down basically, and you know, have that situation. I think that's one trend, and the other is culture and community. And luxury industry you mentioned, I think what Louis Vuitton does, Cheval Blanc, and all that is incredible, or Gucci or Ralph Lauren actually now. I think also very very strong. But what I'm a very also quite active in the arts sector. So, but what you see, for instance, I found very interesting. What the gallery, very large gallery, House and Wirtz is doing, is that they really build a full hospitality operation next to their very high to their galleries. And you have now, restaurants in LA, New York. You have a whole art farm and all this. I think that's interesting how you see again how it blends. Here, the interest set is less well-being, but it's driven around culture and community. And that is also, then if I speak about NeueHouse, besides what we covered before, service, well-being, is that we integrate culture into our spaces. So, for instance, we built in, and we noticed, I think it's wonderful, successful of NeueHouse, into a workspace, a private cinema. So that means in the evening, you have private cinema opportunities to go there. Besides the bars, a lot of partnerships also, with big studios and cinema foundations, etc., Sun, and Tribeca, etc., that come in. And I think that was also in addition to bring culture back. Every house, in our case, has a art collection, right? So you're really surrounded by very interesting art, which changes, right? Which inspires you, and strives for this additional moment to make you, as you said, more performant, more creative, etc. I think that's what I see also in luxury when Vuitton says we're a culture company. I think culture is another big trend which we see in hospitality.
Yeah, that's a great point because luxury used to be the quality of the product or the quality of the service. But now there's so many products to choose from also because when you used to buy products, it used to be what was in front of you in the store. Now it's anything on the internet. So the competition is bigger. And I see, and I agree with you, more people choosing luxury based on the values and not just the product. And it's a lot more service as you like it too, because luxury used to be beautiful hotels, big box marble like Ritz Carlton or Four Seasons, but I see ultra high net worth taking a helicopter to a secluded villa where there's nothing, like there's no C and B scene, there's no one around, but the new luxury and the new hospitality is how you like it. So I think it's a fun time to be in this space, to be creating experiences because I think consumers are more open to it. They're voting with their wallets more than ever. People trade up and trade down, so luxury doesn't even have the same definition anymore. But to be in projects like and companies like we are, I mean, it's really fun and you get to talk to consumers and help dream together.
Yes, absolutely. I think this was a wonderful conclusion of our panel, and yeah, thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, Ashumi, again for giving us the opportunity to speak today and share that with you. Thank you.